Hello, Planeswalkers! My name is Tyler, and today I am bringing you the first new tribal talk of 2021. It's a tribe I've spoken about in the past on wanting it to return to being its own thing, since it was oracled away in one of the Grand Creature type updates, but thanks to Ikoria, it has made that triumphant return. I'm of course talking about sharks, nature's flesh-seeking missiles, and the unfortunately demonized face of many childhood fears, myself included. As someone who was traumatized as a child by the movie Jaws, I'm all too familiar with the fear of being trapped out in the open water with these creatures. And despite spending most of my life reading about, studying, and just all around getting to love sharks as a species, my deep-rooted fear of them and the ocean in general is just too ingrained for me to ignore. It's sad, really. These creatures are beautiful, powerful, and deserving of respect. They don't infest waters, they live in them. And aside from the handful of hyper-aggressive species, they just want to be left alone. It hurts me emotionally to see them portrayed as nothing but mindless killing machines in almost every single form of media. So I'm going to try and explore a few non-stereotypical looks and builds in this episode where we begin talking about new support. I'll also be including links in the description of this video where you can go and learn about sharks and maybe help support them in the wild. I initially wanted to make this tribal talk because of my legitimate love for sharks, but the more I began looking into how I wanted to portray them, the more I was overwhelmed by just how much I love these creatures and decided to add that into this video. With all of that out of the way, let's take a quick look at what it means to be tribal in Magic, then move on to the actual video. As per the official Magic Wiki, tribal refers to Magic slang for a block, set, or deck with a mechanical theme centered around one or more creature types. For the sake of this video, we'll be looking at the creature type Shark. However, keen-eyed viewers will notice that a bunch of the creatures I'm going to be talking about today, while having Shark in their name, with one exception, actually have fish as their creature type, rather than shark. This is because shark was removed as a creature type during the Grand Creature type update, up until it returned in 2020's Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. With the reinstatement of the creature type, several creatures received Oracle updates to be sharks. Now, onto the fishes! In order to get a full look at everything sharks have to offer, let's divide up their meager support into a few categories: mono blue, blue green, and everything else. I realize that may sound like a cop-out, but you'll see when we get there. Starting with our mono blue support, we have giant shark, hammerhead shark, pouncing shore shark, half blank, voracious great shark, spined megalodon, and shark typhoon. To get it off the list and out of consideration, half shark half blank is a silver bordered augment card that is meant to fuse with a host. It gives +3/+3 to whatever it's augmented to, and triggers its host's ability every upkeep. But it's stupid, doesn't help our cause, and will now be forgotten forever. Giant Shark is a 4/4 for 5 and a blue that gets +2/+0 and trample when it blocks or is blocked if the creature it is blocking or blocked by has been dealt damage this turn. A fun, if convoluted way to show a shark feeding frenzy. Can only attack a player who controls an island, and must be sacrificed if you control no islands. Hammerhead Shark is a 2/3 for 1 and a blue that can only attack someone who controls an island. Pouncing Shore Shark is a 4/3 for 4 and a blue with flash, with a mutate cost of 3 and a blue and the ability to bounce an opponent's creature whenever the stack it is in mutates. Spined Megalodon is a 5/7 for 5 blue with hexproof that gives you a free scry 1 whenever it attacks. Voracious Great Shark is a 5/4 for 3 blue with flash who can counter a creature spell or artifact spell, another fun and flavorful tribute, this time to Jaws, with the artifact counter being seen as the shark eating your boat. This connection is even further enforced by the flavor text, "There is no boat big enough." The final card in this category is an enchantment, Shark Typhoon, aka Sharknado. Yes, that Sharknado. Shark Typhoon casts for 5 and a blue and gives you an XX Flying Shark token every time you cast a non-creature spell, with X being that spell's converted mana cost. It can also be cycled for 1 blue and X, letting you discard it, draw a card, then make a single XX Flying Shark token where X is the mana you paid while cycling. Our next category of cards are our blue-green creatures. The The Simic Combine on the plane of Ravnica have a history of combining creature types together, with sharks, and crabs as you'll see, being very popular for the creatures in their crises. Shamble Shark is a 2/1 shark crab for blue-green with flash and evolve, meaning it gains a +1/+1 counter if a creature enters the battlefield under your control with either larger power or larger toughness. Shark to Crab is a 4/4 shark crab for 2 blue-green and with Adapt 1 for 2 blue-green, which lets you pay the Adapt cost to place a single +1/+1 counter on Shark to Crab. It also lets you tap down a creature whenever a counter is placed on it. This is the part of the script where I realized that I've gone this entire time assuming the last card in this category was also blue and green, but it actually turns out that it's just mono green. So that's fun. Anyways, impromptu extra category, we have Battering Krasis, the one creature on the list that doesn't have shark in its name, but whose head implies that the fish used to make this shark beast was in fact a hammerhead shark. It costs 2 and a green, has trample, and comes with the same evolve ability as Shamble Shark. The final category, Everything Else, is named so because it's 2 creatures, neither of which are fully in any of the colors we've mentioned so far, and one of them isn't even a shark. The 2 in question are Sabraz, the Sky Shark, and Braylon, Sky Shark Rider. Shabraz is a legendary 3/3 bird shark for 3 white blue with flying, partners with Braylon, and has the ability to give you 1 life and gain a +1/+1 counter whenever you draw a card. You can also play an Azorius hybrid mana, so either a blue or a white, to give a human you control flying. Braylon, on the other hand, is a 3/3 human shaman for 3 and a red that partners with Shabraz, gains a +1/+1 counter and pings every opponent for 1 when you discard a card, and who can give a shark trample for a single red. I'll admit, I'm a little hesitant when it comes to these 2. Yes, Shabraz is a legendary shark and currently the only one at time of writing, but it's actually Braylon who supports sharks as a tribe by being able to give trample to them. When it comes to potential brewing, I'm not actually going to consider these 2 as commanders since I don't think Jeskai really fits the theme for sharks. But we may see them pop up in the 99. With that being said, let's take a look at some potential support I'd like to see, then muse on potential commanders. Point number 1 is something I harp on every single episode, and that's color identity and more members. Starting with color identity, there's a few different routes I'd like to explore. Obviously, blue has to be the primary color, but as for secondary colors, I have 2 options that I'd like to look at. Grixis's blue, black, red, and Bant's white, blue, green. I realize that these seem to be the opposite ends of the spectrum, but I have my reasons. Looking at Grixis, we look at the more toothy and aggressive members of the species. Great whites, bulls, tigers, makos, things with teeth that generally are more feared among shark species. I know I stated at the top of the video that I wanted to avoid demonizing sharks like the rest of the media does, but it still needs to be stated that these can be dangerous wild animals, and I think using these colors to portray that can show off what sharks are capable of while also inspiring awe and respect. As for Bant, I tend to think of the more gentle species like whale sharks, basking sharks, nurse sharks, and the like. Ones that don't really come armed literally to the teeth. I'll be keeping these color combinations in mind as we delve into potential new members. Starting with blue, the color shared by almost all sharks, thanks Battering Krasis, I want some fairly generic creatures that can go into either deck permutation. Maybe Blue Shark, a vanilla 2/2 for 1 and a blue, referencing both the fact that yes, it is a blue shark, but it's also the blue shark, an actual species that exists. I'd also like to see something along the lines of the Razor Maw Thresher, a 2/4 for 3 and a blue with flash and reach. Playing off of sharks being able to reach lightning fast speeds, and also joking about the tail of the Thresher shark being extra long and being able to use to swap birds out of the air. For black, we could look at sharks that are found in lower depths, like the Unseen Goblinfish, a 1/1 for 2 and a black with Shroud and Unblockable, or the Lurking Sixgill, a 6/6 for 3 and a black that doesn't untap during your turn if it attacked the previous turn. I'm always a sucker for hyper-aggressively costed cards with bizarre downsides, and the Sixgill pays homage to the actual six-gilled sharks, who are known for their low metabolisms and home territory deep in freezing cold waters. It would also be nice to see something like the Darting Mako, a 2/2 for 2 and a red with haste, but who has dash for a single red. Or the Protective Horn Shark, a 1/4 for a single white with defender. I know none of these are very exciting, probably all common or uncommon, but now let's move on to the main course, the rares that do the fun stuff. Once we start getting into the rarer sharks, I'd like to see things like the Savage Bull Shark, a 4/4 for 3 red black. At rare, that fights a non-shark creature when it enters the battlefield, and if a creature dealt damage by the Savage Bull Shark is put into a graveyard this turn, makes a token that is a copy of itself. Bull sharks are one of, if not the, most aggressive species on the planet, being one of the top 3 species to attack humans. This is played out in its automatic fight effect, with the token copy it can spawn acting like more sharks being drawn into the scent of blood. For 4 blue-black, we have the Emperor White Shark, a 7/7 that gives all other sharks you control +1/+1, because we really need a lord, and has both. When this creature deals damage to a creature your opponent controls, create a colorless artifact tooth token called Discarded Teeth for each 1 damage Emperor White Shark did, as well as sacrifice 100 discarded teeth, take an extra turn after this one. Sharks are infamous for losing their teeth, so I think playing around with tokens that act as these teeth but do nothing on their own opens a whole new design space for other sharks and spells. For example, take Megalodon's Jaw, an artifact for 4 generic mana that reads, whenever a shark you control blocks or becomes blocked, create a colorless artifact token called Discarded Teeth for each damage it dealt, and sacrifice 15 discarded teeth, draw a card. Or Collection of Teeth, an enchantment that makes a Discarded Teeth token for each shark you control during each of your upkeeps, as well as sacrifice 15 discarded teeth, draw a card, and sacrifice 50 discarded teeth, target shark gains indestructible until end of turn. I want discarded teeth to be really easy to get, but have their payoffs require a whole bunch of them to pull off, putting emphasis on either having a lot of sharks, like in schools, or having lots of sharks attack, like a feeding frenzy. The last bit that I want to look over is perhaps my favorite part, and that's speculating on potential commanders. As I stated earlier, I wanted to lean sharks into either Grixis or Bant, so we'll look at examples of both. Starting with Grixis, we have Mammon, Titanic Feeder, a colossal 8/8 Elder Shark for 5 blue-black-red with hexproof and a new ability I'm calling Schooling, in this case Schooling 6. Schooling's reminder text reads, when a creature dealt damage by a creature with Schooling is put into a graveyard from play, the owner of the creature with Schooling may look at the top X cards of their library, where X is the Schooling number, reveal all cards that share a type with that creature, and put them into play. Having an ability like this cements several things. Sharks are powerful and shouldn't be messed with, and if there's blood, more will come. I also like Mammon putting emphasis on opponents not blocking for fear of putting more blood in the water, making your opponents choose on either taking a chunk of damage or saving their life totals while potentially also improving your board state. For Bant, I wanted to look at the counterpart to Mammon's combat and swarm-oriented tactics with Renko, Gentle Giant, a 1/10 Elder Shark for 1 white, blue, green, and all creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. Discard 2 cards. Renko gains Shroud until end of turn, and when Renko deals damage to a player, you and that player may each draw a card. While I imagine Mammon being more like a Great White or a Megalodon, I see Renko being as more of a filter feeder, like a whale shark. His mass -1/-1 to your opponent's boards acts like how filter feeders only eat the smallest creatures. His discard ability acts as him diving deep to avoid attacks. His damage trigger reflects on how divers and whale sharks interact peacefully in the wild, and his power toughness emphasizes his non-aggressive nature. All in all, I think these two do a really good job showcasing some of the wide behaviors sharks have been observed doing. But there we have it, Planeswalkers. My take on how sharks can really come into their own as a tribe now that they've been brought back into the fold. I had a lot of fun making this tribal talk, as sharks and shark conservation are both very dear to me. So please consider checking out the institutions and research facilities in the description down below to learn more about these majestic creatures and even see if you can help out. I'll leave links to the web pages for both Shark Stewards and the Monterey Bay Aquarium. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell so that you never miss an upload. Later, Planeswalkers.